Admiral Zixathara stood on the bridge of his massive warship. The ship was bigger than most cities. Its metal walls were dark gray and covered with blinking lights. Through the large window, he could see 11 other ships just like his. They moved through space like hunters looking for prey. The Admiral was not human. His skin was blue and scaly. He had 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the dark. He had been fighting wars for the Galactic Empire for over 200 years. In all that time, he had never lost a battle. The Empire ruled most of the galaxy. They had taken control of thousands of worlds. Millions of different species served them as slaves. The Empire's ships were the strongest in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. No one had ever beaten them in a real fight. Today was supposed to be a normal day. The Admiral's fleet was checking the outer edge of Empire space. They were looking for new worlds to conquer. Most of the time, they found nothing interesting. Sometimes they found primitive species that they could easily defeat. "Admiral," called out one of his officers. The officer had green skin and 6 eyes. "We are getting strange readings from Sector 7 Alpha." The Admiral turned to look at his officer. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures, sir. They are different from anything we have seen before. The computer cannot identify them." The Admiral walked over to the main screen. Numbers and symbols filled the display. He had seen thousands of different energy patterns before. This one was new. "Show me the source," he ordered. The screen changed to show a star system. It had 1 yellow star and several planets. The third planet from the star was blue and green. It looked like many other worlds that supported life. "The signals are coming from that planet," the officer said. "Our long-range scans show it has a primitive species. They have just learned to split atoms. They have sent a few small ships into space around their world." The Admiral smiled. His sharp teeth looked like knives. "Another easy conquest. Have they detected us yet?" "No, sir. But there is something else. We are picking up a ship moving toward us from their system. It appears to be traveling faster than light, but the technology is unknown to us." This made the Admiral more interested. Most primitive species could not travel faster than light. If they could, they usually used Empire technology that they had stolen or copied. "How far away is this ship?" he asked. "It will reach our position in 6 hours, sir." The Admiral thought for a moment. In his long career, he had seen many different types of ships. Some were built for war. Others were made for trade. A few were designed for exploration. This ship was probably just exploring. Most primitive species sent out small ships to look around their local area. "Prepare the fleet for contact," he ordered. "When the ship arrives, we will demand that it surrender. If they refuse, we will destroy it. Then we will go to their homeworld and take control." His officers began working at their stations. They checked weapons and shields. They made sure the communication systems were ready. Everything was standard procedure for the Empire. Far away, Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of his ship. The ship was called the Aurora. It was much smaller than the Empire ships, but it was the most advanced vessel that humans had ever built. Jake was 35 years old with brown hair and blue eyes. He had been chosen to lead humanity's first mission to another star. The trip had taken 2 years. He and his crew had been traveling through empty space looking for signs of other life. "Captain," said Lisa Adams from the pilot's seat. She was a skilled pilot with short black hair and green eyes. "I'm getting some unusual readings on the sensors." Jake leaned forward. "What kind of readings?" 12 large objects ahead of us. They're big, Captain. Much bigger than our ship. And they're not moving like natural objects. These are definitely artificial." Sam Carter looked up from his engineering station. He was a tall man with red hair who could fix almost anything. "Captain, those objects are giving off massive energy signatures. They have power systems that are way beyond anything we've ever seen." Jake felt his heart beat faster. For 2 years, they had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. Now they had found signs of advanced technology. "Are they ships?" he asked. "They have to be," said Ben Taylor from the communication station. He was young with blonde hair and wore thick glasses. The energy patterns suggest they have engines, weapons, and life support systems. Dr. Kate Williams looked up from her science station. She was a smart woman with brown hair who studied alien life. "This is incredible, Captain. We're looking at proof that intelligent life exists in the galaxy. This is the greatest discovery in human history." Jake nodded, but he felt worried. The ships were clearly more advanced than anything humans had built. He hoped the aliens would be friendly. "Lisa, reduce our speed," he ordered. "Sam, power up our defensive systems just in case. Ben, prepare a greeting message. Kate, start scanning for any information about who built those ships." The Aurora moved closer to the alien fleet. Jake and his crew did not know that they were flying toward the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They also did not know that the Empire had never met a species they could not conquer. Admiral Zixithara watched the small ship approach. It was tiny compared to his vessels. The ship's design was strange. It did not look like any technology he knew. "Sir," his officer reported, "the ship is slowing down. It appears to be scanning us." "Are they trying to communicate?" "Not yet, sir. They seem to be studying us from a distance." The Admiral was getting impatient. Most primitive species either ran away in fear or tried to attack immediately. This ship was doing neither. "Send them a message," he ordered. "Tell them to surrender immediately or be destroyed. Use the standard conquest protocol." His communication officer began sending the message. It was translated into thousands of languages and broadcast on all frequencies. The message was simple and clear: surrender or die. On the Aurora, Ben Taylor suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the largest ship in that group." "Put it on speaker," Jake ordered. A cold, harsh voice filled the bridge. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Imperial space. By order of the Galactic Empire, you will surrender immediately. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at each other in shock. "They want us to surrender?" Lisa asked. "Imperial space?" Sam repeated. "Captain, I don't think these are the friendly aliens we hope to meet." Jake stood up slowly. His mind was racing. This was first contact with an alien species, but it was not going the way anyone on Earth had imagined. "Ben, can you send a reply?" he asked. "Yes, sir. But Captain, they sound pretty serious about that surrender demand." Jake took a deep breath. The next few minutes would determine the fate of not just his crew, but possibly all of humanity. "Send this message," he said. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Aurora. We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We did not know this area was claimed by anyone. We request permission to communicate and establish peaceful relations." Ben sent the message and they waited. On the Imperial ship, Admiral Zixithara listened to the human response. "Peaceful explorers?" He laughed. "They all say that. Prepare the weapons. If they do not surrender in the next 60 seconds, we will show them the power of the Empire." The 60 seconds felt like hours to Captain Jake Morrison. He watched the timer count down on his screen while his crew waited for orders. Everyone on the bridge was tense. They had come to space looking for new friends, but instead they had found enemies. 10 seconds left, Captain," Ben Taylor said quietly. Jake made his decision. "Ben, send another message. Tell them we are willing to leave their space immediately. We don't want any trouble." Before Ben could send the message, the communication system crackled again. Admiral Zixithara's voice filled the bridge. "Your time is up, primitive species. You had your chance to surrender. Now you will learn why the Empire rules the galaxy." On the Imperial flagship, the Admiral raised one of his 4 arms. "Fire warning. Shot. Target their engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed. They might have useful information about their homeworld." The weapons officer pressed a button. A massive beam of red energy shot from the Imperial ship. The beam was designed to cut through the strongest armor in the galaxy. It had never failed to disable an enemy ship. "Warning shot incoming," Lisa Adams shouted from her pilot station. "Captain, it's heading right for our rear section. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Lisa pushed the controls hard to the left, but the beam was too fast. It struck the Aurora directly in the engine section. The entire ship shook violently. Hull. Breach, Sam Carter called out. Wait, that's impossible. What's impossible? Jake asked. Sam stared at his instruments in confusion. Captain, their weapon hit us, but we're not damaged. Our shields absorbed the energy somehow. But that's not all. The energy is building up in our defensive grid. Dr. Kate Williams looked at her science readings. Sam is right. Our shields didn't just block their attack, they're storing the energy. The power levels are increasing rapidly. Is that dangerous? Jake asked. I don't know, Sam replied. This technology is new. We've never tested it against alien weapons before. Suddenly, the ship's computer spoke in a calm voice. Warning. Energy levels in defensive grid exceed safe limits. Automatic discharge protocol activated. Automatic discharge? Jake repeated. Sam, what does that mean? Before Sam could answer, a brilliant blue beam shot out from the Aurora. The beam was much brighter and more powerful than the red beam that had hit them. It struck the Imperial flagship directly in the center. The massive alien ship shuddered. Explosions erupted along its hull. Pieces of metal flew into space. Emergency lights began flashing on the alien vessel. On the Imperial bridge, alarms were screaming. Smoke filled the air. Several officers were on the floor, hurt by flying debris. Damage report, Admiral Zixathera shouted. Heavy damage to decks 7 through 12, an officer reported. We've lost main power to the forward section. Weapons Array 2 is completely destroyed. How is this possible, sir? That was just a primitive ship. The Admiral stared at the small human vessel. In 3,000 years of Imperial history, no primitive species had ever damaged an Imperial warship. The Empire's shields and armor were too strong. Their technology was too advanced. Analysis, he demanded. How did they do that? His science officer was frantically checking readings. Sir, our weapon struck their ship, but instead of being destroyed, their defensive system somehow absorbed our energy and redirected it back at us. The beam that hit us was our own weapon, but it was amplified somehow. That's impossible. No known technology can do that. Sir, the readings don't lie. Somehow they turned our own weapon against us. Admiral Zixathera felt something he had not experienced in decades: uncertainty. He had fought hundreds of battles and conquered countless worlds. He had never seen anything like this. On the Aurora, the crew was just as confused. Did we just shoot them? Lisa asked. I think so, Sam replied, but I don't understand how. Our ship doesn't have weapons like that. Dr. Kate Williams was studying her instruments carefully. The beam that hit them came from our defensive grid. Somehow, our shields converted their attack into our own weapon. Is that supposed to happen? Jake asked. Not according to anything I've read, Sam said. This is completely new technology. The scientists on Earth told us it was just for protection against space debris and radiation. Ben Taylor was monitoring alien communications. Captain, I'm picking up damage reports from their ship. It sounds like we hurt them pretty badly. Jake felt sick to his stomach. He had never wanted to hurt anyone. Try to contact them again, tell them it was an accident, we didn't mean to attack them. Before Ben could send the message, Dr. Williams made a discovery. Captain, I've been analyzing their communication signals. I'm learning about their language and technology. These aliens call themselves the Galactic Empire. They've conquered hundreds of worlds. They treat other species as slaves. Slaves? Jake repeated. Yes, sir. From what I can understand, they travel from world to world, conquering primitive species. They either make them slaves or destroy them completely. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. So they weren't planning to be friendly? Lisa asked. No, Dr. Williams replied. They were planning to conquer us. Jake felt angry now instead of guilty. These aliens had threatened his crew and his species. They had attacked first. Ben, are you getting any more messages from them? Yes, sir. They're demanding to know how we damaged their ship. They're calling us liars and cheaters. They say no primitive species should have technology like ours. Sam looked up from his engineering station. Captain, I'm studying what just happened. I think our defensive system is more powerful than anyone on Earth realized. The scientists designed it to protect us from radiation and small objects in space. But when a large energy attack hits it, the system automatically redirects that energy back at the attacker. Like a mirror? Jake asked. Sort of, but more than that. It doesn't just reflect the energy. It amplifies it and focuses it into a powerful beam. Dr. Williams was excited despite the dangerous situation. This is incredible. Our scientists accidentally created a defensive system that can turn any attack into a counterattack. The stronger the enemy's weapon, the stronger our response becomes. That explains why we hurt them so badly, Jake said. Their weapon was very powerful, so our response was even more powerful. Ben suddenly looked up from his station. Captain, they're sending another message. This time it sounds different. Put it on speaker. Admiral Zixathera's voice filled the bridge again, but now he sounded angry instead of confident. Unknown. Vessel, you will explain how you damaged an Imperial warship. No primitive species possesses such technology. You must be working with enemies of the Empire. Identify yourselves and surrender immediately, or we will destroy you with the full power of our fleet. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting for orders. These aliens wanted to make humanity into slaves. They had attacked first. They were threatening to destroy Earth's first interstellar mission. Ben, send this message, Jake said firmly. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Aurora. We are peaceful, explorers from Earth. You attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves. We ask again for peaceful communication. If you attack us again, we will defend ourselves again. Admiral Zixathera listened to the human response with growing rage. How dare this primitive species speak to the Empire as equals? How dare they damage an Imperial warship and then demand peaceful communication? Sir, his weapons officer reported, all weapons are ready to fire. Shall we destroy them? The Admiral thought carefully. The small ship had somehow turned, the Empire's own weapon against them. If he attacked with all 12 ships at once, could they turn all of that energy back at the fleet? Sir, the weapons officer asked again. Admiral Zixathera made his decision. He had never retreated from a primitive species before, but he had also never seen anything like this ship's defensive capabilities. All ships prepare for coordinated attack. If they can redirect one weapon, let's see how they handle the firepower of an entire fleet. Target their ship and fire everything we have. Sir, are you sure? If they can redirect all of that energy, then we'll finally know what we're really fighting, the Admiral replied grimly. On the Aurora, alarms suddenly began ringing. Captain, Lisa shouted. All 12 ships are powering up their weapons. They're targeting us with everything they've got. Jake felt his mouth go dry. One weapon had nearly destroyed the alien ship when it was redirected back at them. What would happen if 12 ships fired at once? Sam, can our defensive system handle that much energy? Sam was working frantically at his controls. I don't know, Captain. We're about to find out. 12 massive warships pointed their weapons at the small human vessel. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together, they could crack a planet in half. Admiral Zixathera stood on his bridge, watching the targeting systems lock onto the Aurora. His damaged ship still had most of its weapons working. Combined with the other 11 ships, they would unleash more destructive power than most species had ever seen. All ships report ready, sir, his weapons officer announced. Fire everything, the Admiral ordered. Space lit up like a star being born. Dozens of energy beams, plasma bolts, and fusion missiles shot toward the Aurora from all directions. The combined attack was so bright that it hurt to look at directly. On the Aurora, Captain Jake Morrison gripped his chair as he watched death approaching his ship. Hold on, everyone, he shouted. Lisa Adams pushed the ship's engines to maximum power, trying to dodge the incoming weapons, but there were too many attacks coming from too many directions. There was nowhere to run. Impact in 5 seconds, she called out. The weapons struck the Aurora all at once. The ship disappeared in a ball of brilliant light. For a moment, it seemed like the small human vessel had been completely destroyed. Admiral Zixathera smiled with satisfaction. Target destroyed. Prepare to move toward their homeworld. But then something impossible happened. The ball of light began to change. Instead of an explosion, the energy was swirling around the Aurora like a protective shell. The ship was still there, unharmed in the center of the energy storm. "Sir," his science officer said in a shocked voice, "the target is still intact. Their defensive system is absorbing all of our weapons' fire." "All of it?" the Admiral asked, in disbelief. "Yes, sir, every single attack. The energy is building up around their ship like they're storing it." On the Aurora, Sam Carter was watching his instruments with amazement and terror. "Captain, our defensive grid is absorbing everything they're throwing at us. But the energy levels are off the charts. I've never seen readings this high." "Is it going to overload?" Jake asked. "I don't think so. The system seems to be designed for this. It's like someone knew we might face this kind of attack." Dr. Kate Williams was studying the energy patterns on her screen. "Sam, look at this. The defensive system isn't just storing the energy randomly. It's organizing it, focusing it. Into what?" Before she could answer, the ship's computer spoke again. "Energy saturation reached. Multiple discharge protocols activated. Warning, discharge power level exceeds all safety parameters." "Multiple discharge?" Jake repeated. "How many beams is it going to fire?" Sam checked his readings. "Captain, based on these numbers, it's going to fire 12 beams, one for each ship that attacked us." The light around the Aurora suddenly focused into 12 brilliant blue beams. Each beam was brighter and more powerful than anything the Imperial fleet had ever seen. The beams shot out in perfect aim toward each of the 12 warships. Admiral Zix Thera watched in horror as a beam of pure energy raced toward his ship. Evasive maneuvers, all power to shields. But the beam was too fast and too powerful. It struck the Imperial flagship like the fist of an angry god. The massive warships' shields collapsed instantly. The beam tore through the hull like it was made of paper. Explosions erupted throughout the ship. Entire sections were torn away and blown into space. Emergency systems failed one by one. The proud warship that had conquered hundreds of worlds was being destroyed by a single beam of redirected energy. The same thing was happening to all 12 ships. Each beam found its target perfectly. The Imperial fleet, which had never been defeated in 3,000 years, was being torn apart by their own weapons. On the Aurora, the crew watched in shock as the mighty alien fleet was destroyed before their eyes. "Did we do that?" Ben Taylor asked quietly. "We defended ourselves," Jake replied. "They attacked us with everything they had. Our ship just sent it back to them." Lisa was monitoring the alien ships. "Captain, most of their vessels are heavily damaged. Some of them look like they're about to explode completely." Dr. Williams was analyzing the battle data. Their ships weren't designed to handle this kind of energy. Their own weapons are more powerful than their own defenses can handle. "That doesn't make sense," Sam said. "It does if you think about it," Dr. Williams explained. "They've been conquering primitive species for thousands of years. They never had to worry about facing their own weapons. They built ships that could destroy others, but they didn't think about protecting themselves from their own firepower." On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Zix Thera was struggling to stay on his feet. Half of his bridge was destroyed. Most of his crew was injured or dead. Emergency lights flickered in the smoke-filled air. "Damage report," he called out weakly. "Sir, we've lost main power, weapons, life support, and navigation. We're running on emergency power only. The other ships are reporting similar damage. 3 ships have been completely destroyed." The Admiral could not believe what he was hearing. In one battle, this primitive species had destroyed more Imperial ships than the Empire had lost in the past century. "How many of our ships are still combat ready?" "None, sir. Every ship in the fleet is either destroyed or too damaged to fight." Admiral Zix Thera felt something he had never experienced before: defeat. For the first time in his long military career, he had been beaten by an enemy. And that enemy was a species that had barely learned to leave their own solar system. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "the alien ship is sending us a message. Put it through." Captain Morrison's voice filled the damaged bridge. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Aurora. We can see that your ships are badly damaged." "We did," not want this fight, but you forced us to defend ourselves. We are willing to help rescue your crews if you agree to peaceful communication." The Admiral stared at the communication device. These humans had just destroyed his fleet, and now they were offering to help rescue survivors. What kind of species were they? "Sir," his officer whispered, "what should we tell them?" Before the Admiral could answer, another officer called out urgently, "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting more ships approaching our position." "More human ships?" "No, sir. These are Imperial vessels. It's the 4th Fleet under Admiral Korath. They must have detected our distress signals." Admiral Zixathara felt a mix of relief and shame. Help was coming, but he would have to explain how he had lost an entire fleet to a single primitive ship. On the Aurora, Ben Taylor detected the approaching ships first. "Captain, I'm picking up more vessels on long-range sensors. They're bigger than the ships we just fought, and there are more of them." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How many?" "At least 20 ships, sir. And they're moving fast." Sam looked up from his engineering station. "Captain, our defensive system used a lot of power in that last battle. If we have to fight again right away, I'm not sure we can absorb that much energy again." Dr. Williams was monitoring the damaged alien ships. "Captain, I'm detecting life signs on most of those vessels. There are thousands of aliens over there who are hurt and dying." Jake faced an impossible choice. More enemy ships were coming, his own ship was low on power, and there were thousands of injured aliens who needed help. "Lisa, can we get out of here before those new ships arrive?" "Maybe, Captain. But it would be close. And if we leave now, all those aliens will die." Jake thought about what his grandmother had taught him when he was young. She always said that what made humans special was not their strength or their intelligence, but their willingness to help others, even their enemies. "Ben, send a message to the damaged ships. Tell them we're going to help evacuate their crews. Tell them to prepare their escape pods." "Sir," Sam said, "if we stay to help them, we'll be here when those other ships arrive. We might not survive." "Another battle," Jake nodded. "I know, but we can't just leave them to die. That's not who we are." Dr. Williams smiled proudly. "Captain, I think you just showed these aliens something they've never seen before." As the Aurora moved closer to the damaged Imperial ships to begin rescue operations, the crew prepared for whatever would happen when the new fleet arrived. They had accidentally started a war with the most powerful force in the galaxy. But they had also shown that sometimes the right thing to do was more important than the safe thing to do. In the distance, Admiral Korath's 4th Fleet raced toward the battle zone. The Admiral had received Admiral Zixathara's distress call, but the message had been garbled and incomplete. All he knew was that the 3rd Fleet was under attack by an unknown enemy. Admiral Korath commanded 25 of the Empire's most advanced warships. He had never lost a battle in his entire career. As he approached the coordinates of the 3rd Fleet, he expected to find either a victorious fleet or the remains of whatever enemy had dared to attack the Empire. What he found instead would change everything he thought he knew about warfare, about the Empire, and about what it meant to be truly powerful in the galaxy. Admiral Korath arrived at the battle zone expecting to find enemies to destroy. Instead, he found something that made no sense to his military mind. The 3rd Fleet, one of the Empire's most powerful forces, was scattered across space in pieces. Most of the ships were heavily damaged or completely destroyed. In the middle of the wreckage was a single small ship that was clearly not Imperial design, but the small ship was not attacking the survivors. Instead, it was rescuing them. "Report," Admiral Korath demanded from his flagship bridge. "Sir, we're detecting one unknown vessel. It appears to be collecting escape pods and survivors from the 3rd Fleet. Admiral Zixathara's ship is badly damaged but still intact." "One ship did all this damage?" "It appears so, sir. The unknown vessel is much smaller than any of our ships. Its design is completely unfamiliar. Admiral Korath had served the Empire for 150 years. He had conquered dozens of worlds and destroyed hundreds of enemy ships. Never in his career had he seen one small vessel defeat an entire Imperial fleet. Open a channel to Admiral Zixathara." The damaged face of Admiral Zixathara appeared on the screen. His blue skin was darker than usual, and one of his eyes was swollen shut. Admiral Korath, thank the Empire you've arrived. Zixthera, what happened here? How did one primitive ship destroy your entire fleet? That's not a primitive ship, Korath. Their technology is unlike anything we've ever encountered. They can turn our own weapons against us. Every attack we made was redirected back at us with even more power. Admiral Korath found this hard to believe. That's impossible. No known species has that capability. I know how it sounds, but I've seen it with my own eyes. And Korath, there's something else. After they defeated us, they offered to help rescue our crews. They're saving lives right now instead of finishing us off. This confused Admiral Korath even more. In his experience, species that could defeat the Empire usually tried to destroy them completely. Why would these aliens help their enemies? Sir, his communication officer interrupted. The unknown vessel is sending us a message. Put it through. Captain Jake Morrison's voice filled the bridge. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Aurora. We are currently conducting rescue operations for survivors of the damaged ships. We request that you do not interfere with these humanitarian efforts. We are willing to discuss peaceful resolution to this conflict. Admiral Korath was stunned. This primitive captain was telling him, an admiral of the Empire, what to do. And he was talking about peaceful resolution after destroying an entire fleet. Sir, what are your orders? His weapons officer asked. Admiral Korath studied the situation carefully. The small ship was outnumbered 25-1. His fleet had enough firepower to destroy a star system. But if what Zixthera said was true, attacking might result in his own fleet being destroyed. Continue monitoring. Do not attack until I give the order. On the Aurora, Dr. Kate Williams was making an important discovery. As they rescued Imperial crews, she had been studying their biology and technology. Captain, she called out excitedly, I'm learning incredible things about these aliens. They're not just one species. They're hundreds of different species all serving this empire. Are they all soldiers? Jake asked. No, sir. Many of them are slaves. I've been listening to their communications, and some of these crew members are talking about their homeworlds that were conquered by the Empire. They're forced to serve on these ships. This revelation shocked Jake. You mean some of these people were rescuing our prisoners? Yes, sir. And Captain, some of them are asking if we're here to free them. Sam Carter looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we've rescued over 300 survivors so far. Our ship is getting pretty crowded. How many more escape pods are out there? At least 200 more, sir. It's going to take us several more hours to get everyone. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Ben, send a message to that new fleet. Tell them we need help rescuing all these survivors. Ask them to send their own rescue ships. Sir, Ben said hesitantly. Are you sure? They might see it as a sign of weakness. We can't rescue everyone by ourselves. These people will die if we don't get help. Dr. Williams had been monitoring communications between the two Imperial fleets. Captain, I'm picking up interesting conversations. The newer fleet is confused about what happened here. They can't believe one ship defeated an entire fleet. Some of them are starting to question their own tactics. Meanwhile, on Admiral Korath's flagship, a heated discussion was taking place. Sir, his science officer reported, I've been analyzing the battle data from the Third Fleet. Their account appears to be accurate. The unknown vessel somehow absorbed massive amounts of energy and redirected it back at our ships. How is that possible? I don't know, sir. It's a completely new type of technology. Our weapons are designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through raw power, but if the enemy can absorb that power and use it against us, then our strongest weapons become our greatest weakness. Admiral Korath was beginning to understand the problem. You're saying that the more powerful our attack, the more powerful their counterattack becomes? Exactly, sir. If we attack that ship with our full fleet, we might destroy ourselves. Sir, the communication officer interrupted. The unknown vessel is sending another message. Jake's voice filled the bridge again. Admiral Korath, we've rescued over half of the survivors, but we need assistance to save the rest. Many of these people are badly injured and need medical attention that only your ships can provide. We request temporary cooperation to save lives. Admiral Korath stared at the communication device. This human captain was asking for cooperation instead of demanding surrender. He was trying to save Imperial lives instead of destroying them. "Sir, what should we do?" his first officer asked. "Send medical ships to assist with the rescue operation," Admiral Korath ordered. "Sir, are you sure? If this is some kind of trap, look around, Commander. They've already proven they can destroy our ships if they want to. If they meant to attack us, they would have done it already instead of rescuing our people." Several Imperial medical ships moved forward to help with the rescue operation. For the first time in Imperial history, human and alien ships worked together to save lives. As the rescue operation continued, something unexpected happened. Imperial crew, members who had been rescued by the Aurora, began talking to their rescuers. They learned that the humans were explorers, not conquerors. They discovered that Earth was just one small planet that wanted to explore the galaxy in peace. Some of the rescued aliens began to realize that not all species in the galaxy were like the Empire. Some species could be strong without being cruel. Some species could win battles without enslaving the defeated. Dr. Williams made another important discovery. "Captain, I've been talking to some of the rescued crew members. Many of them are telling me about their homeworlds, planets that were conquered by the Empire decades or centuries ago. Some of these people have never even seen their homeworlds. They were born as slaves?" "Yes, sir. And Captain, some of them are asking about Earth. They want to know what it's like to live on a free world." Jake felt a heavy responsibility settling on his shoulders. These aliens weren't just enemies. Many of them were victims of the same system that now threatened Earth. Admiral Korath was having similar thoughts. As he watched human and Imperial ships working together, he began to question things he had never questioned before. Why did the Empire rule through fear? Why did they enslave other species instead of trading with them? Why had he never met an enemy that wanted to help rather than destroy? "Sir," his science officer said quietly, "I've been analyzing the human ship's technology. Their defensive system is based on principles we've never explored. But it's not just defensive. Their entire ship is built differently than ours." "How so?" "Our ships are built for conquest, sir. Heavy weapons, strong armor, intimidating design. Their ship is built for exploration. Advanced sensors, efficient engines, modular systems that can adapt to different situations. And that makes them stronger than us? In a way, yes. They built their ship to solve problems and discover new things. We built our ships to destroy and conquer. When they faced a problem they'd never seen before, their ship adapted. When we faced a problem we'd never seen before, we just tried to use more force." Admiral Korath was beginning to understand something that no Imperial officer had ever understood before. The Empire's greatest strength might also be its greatest weakness. As the rescue operation neared completion, Jake faced a crucial decision. The Imperial fleets were damaged but not destroyed. If he left now, they would report back to the Empire about Earth's location. But if he stayed, more Imperial ships would eventually arrive. "Captain," Lisa Adams reported, "I'm detecting more ships approaching on long-range sensors. A lot more ships." "How many?" "I can't get an exact count yet, sir. But it looks like at least 50 vessels. Maybe more." Jake realized that this was just the beginning. The Empire was sending more and more ships to investigate what had happened here. Soon they would send enough ships to overwhelm even the Aurora's defenses. The news spread through the Empire faster than anyone thought possible. For the first time in 3,000 years, an Imperial fleet had been completely defeated. The impossible had happened, and the galaxy would never be the same. On the Empire's capital world, Emperor Valdros sat on his crystal throne listening to reports that made no sense. His advisors stood before him, afraid to speak the truth but more afraid to lie to their ruler. "Tell me again," the Emperor said in a voice like grinding metal. "One small ship destroyed the entire Third Fleet?" "Yes, Your Majesty," his military advisor replied nervously. "Admiral Zixthera's report has been confirmed by Admiral Korath. The unknown species possesses technology that can redirect our weapons back at us. And after defeating our fleet, they rescued our survivors?" "Yes, Your Majesty. They worked together with Admiral Korath's ships to save Imperial lives. Emperor Valdros had ruled the galaxy for over 2 centuries. He had seen rebellions crushed and entire species enslaved. Never had he heard of an enemy that helped their defeated foes. Where did these aliens come from? A small planet in the Outer Rim, Your Majesty. They call it Earth. Our analysis suggests they are a primitive species that has only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Primitive? The Emperor laughed bitterly. They destroyed 2 of our best fleets with 1 ship. How is that primitive? On distant worlds throughout the Empire, slaves and conquered peoples heard whispered stories about the unknown ship that had defeated the mighty Imperial Navy. For the first time in generations, some of them began to hope. On the planet Zerion, where blue-skinned miners worked in underground tunnels, an old slave named Toller heard the news from a smuggler. Is it true? Toller asked. Someone really beat the Empire? Not just beat them, the smuggler replied. They say these humans destroyed Imperial ships and then saved Imperial lives. They showed mercy to their enemies. Toller felt tears in his old eyes. His people had been enslaved for 400 years. He had never expected to see the Empire challenged in his lifetime. What kind of people are these humans? Free people, the smuggler said. They come from a world where no one is enslaved. They fight only to protect themselves, not to conquer others. Similar conversations were happening on hundreds of worlds. The story grew with each telling. The humans became legendary figures who represented everything the Empire was not: freedom, mercy, and justice. Back in space, Captain Jake Morrison faced the hardest decision of his life. Long-range sensors now showed over 100 Imperial ships approaching their position. Even with the Aurora's advanced defenses, they couldn't survive an attack by that many vessels. Captain, Dr. Kate Williams reported, I've been talking to the rescued Imperial crew members. Some of them want to defect. They want to join us instead of returning to the Empire. How many? About 50 people from different species. They're mostly engineers, scientists, and medical personnel. They say they're tired of being forced to help conquer innocent worlds. Jake was amazed. In just a few days, they had gone from exploring empty space to starting a rebellion against a galactic empire. Sir, Ben Taylor called out, Admiral Korath is requesting a private meeting with you. Put him through. Admiral Korath appeared on the screen. His red eyes looked tired and confused. Captain Morrison, I need to speak with you before the Grand Fleet arrives. Grand Fleet? Over 100 ships, Captain. The Emperor himself is sending them. When they arrive, there will be no more rescue operations or cooperation. They will try to destroy you and then find your homeworld. Jake felt cold. Are you warning us to run? I'm warning you that running won't be enough. The Empire has tracked your ship's energy signature. They will follow you wherever you go. Your only choice is to fight or surrender. And if we surrender, your people will become slaves like all the others. But Captain, I don't think you're going to surrender. Jake was quiet for a moment. Admiral, why are you telling me this? Aren't you loyal to the Empire? Admiral Korath was silent for a long time before answering. I've served the Empire for 150 years. I thought we brought order to the galaxy. But after watching your people, I'm starting to think we just brought fear. What do you mean? Your crew rescued our people even though we were your enemies. Your technology defends instead of attacking. Your ship explores instead of conquering. I've never seen anything like it. Dr. Williams had been listening to the conversation. Admiral, what if there was another way? What if the galaxy didn't have to be ruled by fear? What are you suggesting, Doctor? I'm suggesting that not everyone in the Empire wants to be part of it. Maybe it's time for a change. Admiral Korath understood what she meant. You're talking about rebellion. I'm talking about freedom, Dr. Williams replied. As they spoke, something historic was happening throughout the galaxy. The story of the Aurora's victory was inspiring conquered species to hope again. On dozens of worlds, resistance groups began to form. Slaves whispered about freedom. Imperial officers began to question their orders. The Empire had ruled through fear for 3,000 years. But fear only works when people believe their oppressors are invincible. The Aurora had proven that the Empire could be defeated. Captain, Sam Carter reported. The Grand Fleet will be here in 6 hours. We need to decide what we're going to do. Jake looked around at his crew. They had come to space as explorers and accidentally become the leaders of a galactic revolution. Earth was depending on them to find a way home safely. But millions of enslaved beings throughout the galaxy were depending on them for something even more important: hope. Admiral Korath, Jake said, if some of your people wanted to join us, would you try to stop them? Captain, if they choose to join you, I will not stand in their way. But you should know that several other Imperial commanders feel the same way I do. We're tired of being the galaxy's oppressors. Are you saying you want to join us too? I'm saying that the Empire has made many enemies over the centuries. Maybe it's time for those enemies to work together. Over the next few hours, something amazing happened. Imperial officers and crew members began making a choice that had been impossible for 3,000 years. They chose freedom over fear. By the time the Grand Fleet arrived, they found a very different situation than they expected. Instead of one small human ship, they faced a growing alliance of humans, defecting Imperial forces, and freed slaves from dozens of species. The Aurora was no longer alone. Admiral Marcus Steele, commander of the Grand Fleet, stared at his sensors in disbelief. How many ships are we facing? 37 vessels, sir. Most are Imperial designs, but they're broadcasting defection signals. They're no longer serving the Empire. And the human ship? Still there, sir, right in the center of the formation. Admiral, Steele had been sent to destroy one primitive ship and recover 2 damaged fleets. Instead, he faced the beginning of the largest rebellion in Imperial history. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it through. Captain Jake Morrison appeared on the screen, but he was no longer alone. Standing beside him were Admiral Korath, Dr. Williams, and representatives from a dozen different species. Admiral Steele, Jake began. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. These are my allies from many worlds. We don't want to fight you, but we will defend ourselves and protect the freedom of all sentient beings. You're harboring Imperial defectors and escaped slaves, Admiral Steele replied. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Admiral Korath stepped forward. I am formally resigning my commission in the Imperial Navy. These people showed me that there's a better way to live than in fear and oppression. You're a traitor, Korath. No, Korath replied calmly. I'm finally free. The battle that followed was different from any conflict in galactic history. It wasn't just about weapons and tactics, it was about ideas. The Empire's ships fought to maintain 3,000 years of oppression. The Alliance fought for the right of all beings to be free. The Aurora's defensive technology, combined with the tactical knowledge of defecting Imperial officers and the desperate courage of freed slaves, proved more powerful than anyone had imagined. When the battle ended, Admiral Steele's Grand Fleet was either destroyed, captured, or had joined the growing rebellion. The impossible had happened again. As news of the Second Imperial defeat spread throughout the galaxy, the rebellion grew even faster. Worlds that had been enslaved for centuries declared their independence. Imperial governors found themselves facing uprisings on dozens of planets. Emperor Valdros, for the first time in his long reign, felt genuine fear. On Earth, Captain Alex Hughes received a message that changed human history forever. Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the deep space communicators. Earth, this is Captain Morrison. We've made contact with alien life, but not the way we expected. We're currently leading a coalition of free worlds against a galactic empire. We're going to need help. Jake, Captain Hughes replied. What kind of help? The kind that will determine whether humanity remains free or becomes another slave species. We started something out here, Alex. Something bigger than any of us imagined. Dr. Williams took over the transmission. Earth, we've discovered that the galaxy is full of intelligent life, but most of it is enslaved by the Empire. We have a chance to change that, but we need Earth support.